Today's story is about the boy called Arthur. He is brave, and Arthur is not your stereotype hero. He is small, introverted, and quiet boy. Arthur collects many unusual things from his adventure in the forest. He is curious and his interest is to explore. So today let us start with the story. The name of the story is Arthur and the Golden Rope. It's a mythical tale and it's written by Joe Todd Stanton. So let us start with the story. Hello, dear readers, and welcome to the Brownstone family vault. Within this room lies artifacts of great power and rarity collected over thousands of years from every corner of the globe. My most treasured possessions is actually this humble collection of books. They contain tales of lands and creatures long forgotten, as told by the people who collected these amazing objects, my ancestors. They include such adventurers as Eleanor Brownstone's discovery of Crystal Kingdom and her subsequent death-defying escape. My great grandfather, Eric Brownstone's epic battle with the 100-headed Snake King of Tuckanuk Island, and many others. But before all that, there was the first adventure a Brownstone ever had. This is the tale of Arthur, the unlikeliest of heroes, born long ago in a small Icelandic town. It was clear from an early age that Arthur was always going to be a bit different. As soon as he was old enough to explore the forest, he showed a great interest in the strange creatures that lived there at night when the townsfolk would rather around the safety of great fire. Arthur would sit and listen to Atrix, the town's wise woman. She would tell him wondrous and frightening tales about distant lands and ancient magic. Arthur soon began to journey into the forest in search of adventures. He even started to carry with him some of more unusual items he had found. for returning her eggs, the mighty bird Wind Weaver gave him a special feather that would grant him protection at a time of need. By putting an end to the great, or rather tiny, war between goblins and fairies, he was given an enchanted staff. High in an ancient tower, he discovered the hand of time, which had the power to freeze anyone who touched it, and Astrid gave him the very journal I am reading from after the most dangerous challenge of all, rescuing her cat from a tree. One day, while Arthur was attempting to track down a rare species of magical worm, he was startled by a terrible howls. And a moment later, he was plunged into darkness as a huge black shape bonded over him and disappeared. Arthur quickly climbed up the nearest tree and poked his head over the top of the canopy. Right there, heading straight for his town, was a monstrous black wolf. He could only watch in horror as the wolf put out the great fire before it leaped back into the darkness of the forest. Arthur hurried back to the town and felt the cold close in on him. The final embers of the great fire were dying, and everyone was huddled together as Atrix began to speak. Without the great fire warming our town, every house will be frozen solid in less than a week. Stick one. And all of us soon after. The townfolk gasped in fear. But wait, there is a way. We can be saved. Across the sea lies the land of Viking gods. In a mighty hall on top of a mountain, there lives a god with a hammer that can command the skies. He alone has the power to relight a fire. As the town folk looked around, they realized a slight problem with this plan. Everyone had been injured by the wolf, from their toughest warrior to their door's baker. There was no one to send. Arthur's not hurt, piped up one of his classmates. I won't be surprised if all his manling brought the beast to us in the first place? He must too small. He won't last 2 seconds in the land of the god. And the only reason he has remained unheard is because he spent all his time in the forest with those demons. Yeah, he's just a no good man, Lord. That night, Arthur lay wide awake, and harsh words of the town folk running through his head. Maybe he was a madlow and had led the wolf straight to the town. Hmm. Taking a deep breath, Arthur decided that he must go and find the god of storms. Packing up his most useful possessions, he climbed out of his bedroom window and headed for the harbor. He did had many adventures in the forest. How much harder could this be? After a long, long journey, Arthur finally reached the great hall. The powerful door swung open and a voice boomed. Welcome, young traveler. I am Thor, the god of sky and thunder. The warrior god listened intently as Arthur recounted the fact of his town. At last, he nodded gravely. The wolf is Fenrir. He is the son of the evil god Loki, and he has ravaged many villages over the past years. I will relight your great fire, but only on the one condition. You must help me capture the beast, said the Thor. Arthur could only tremble in his boots as Thor explained how the gods had already failed to trap the wolf. Fenrir had nearly squashed Freya, the goddess of love, while she had tried to chase the spell. Then there was Wolf, the god of justice, who had only just escaped from the jaws of the beast despite his amazing strength. And Thor's own brother, Tyr, had his hand bitten off when he tried to outwit the wolf. The only way to stop Fenrir is with a rope made from two incredibly rare items: the sound of cat's footfall and the roots of a mountain. And so Thor said, and by the look of things, you have collected many strange things already. Before Arthur could refuse, Thor handed him two glass bottles and sent him on his way. If Arthur was to catch the sound of a cat's footfall, he would rather have to find a very big cat. He remembered Atrix' tale of a serpent that could turn into a colossal cat so large that Thor himself could not lift it. As you can imagine, it was not too hard to find. Arthur only knew one way to make such a big cat jump. A gigantic boom echoed around the valley as beast's huge paws hit the floor. Arthur held on tight to Thor's jar and captured as much as of the sound as possible before making a quick getaway. For his second challenge, Arthur was truly stunned. He had heard of a huge library within the god's hall. Perhaps he could find something useful there. He searched for an entire day and night, but found nothing. It was only when reading the last book from the very last shelf that an ancient piece of parchment fell out. It was an old map of the Norse world. It showed the realm of the gods and the humans and the giants and connecting them all with a great tree. The huge mountainous world tree. Arthur thought to himself, that was it. The world tree was the mountain with roots. It looked much bigger in real life, but with no time to waste and legs as sturdy as two cooked noodles, Arthur began the climb. Just as Arthur thought he was in the greatest peril, Wind Beaver had snooped down and caught him in her talons. She carried Arthur all the way back to the god's hall, where he triumphantly handed both glass jars to Thor. Odin, the father of the gods, appeared and emptied the jar into a giant cauldron with a sudden flash of light. A huge golden rope began to rise, winding its way up through the air. Thor tied the golden rope to his belt and turned to Arthur. You are truly a brave young adventurer, but you still have one challenge left. You must distract the wolf just long enough for me to time up. Then I can save your town. Arthur nodded solemnly, but quivered with fear as he looked at Thor's one-handed brother. What would happen to him if he confronted the beast? He would have to come up with the plan and quickly. The path of Fenrir's destruction was clear to see. It tore through the forest and stopped right outside a small village. The group slowly descended and looked around for a sign of life when Arthur spotted something. It was a trap. A loud roar erupted from the forest as the most terrifying of creatures appeared. Arthur looked on, feeling impossibly small and helpless. And then he saw the beast right behind him. In fear, Arthur ran as fast as he could into the forest to hide. Fenrir's powerful nose quickly sniffed Arthur's out, and a gigantic claw began to creep closer and closer and closer. In that moment, Arthur was stuck with an idea. He jumped up, ready to blast the wolf on his nose. But Fenrir was too quick. With a loud crunch, he bit Arthur's hand straight off. And then Arthur pulled out his real hand. Fenrir had been tricked by Arthur. The huge beast had bitten the hand of time and swallowed it whole. Do you remember that hand of time which could freeze the beast? Yes, that was the hand of time which the beast had swallowed it. His whole body froze in an instant except for his eyes, which blinked in confusion. After defeating Fenrir minions, Thor was able to tie Fenrir up while Arthur beamed up with pride. Yay! As they flew back to Arthur's frozen town, a bolt of lightning crashed down from the clouds into the main square. The great fire burst of light, and the ice began to melt again. The townfolk cheered and gathered around to hear Thor speak. Arthur went quietly over to Atrix with his journal full of adventures and creatures he had seen. When Thor explained that it was actually Arthur who had defeated Fenrir, they all went to celebrate with him. But by then he was already fast asleep. And that is the tale of the very first Brownstone. Maybe one day you will hear some more of my ancestors' adventures. But until then, dear reader, I hope you go out and find some of your own because sometimes the great heroes are the unlikeliest. This story's character, Arthur, will encourage kids like you to embrace your own uniqueness